quick question for you. When you picture true love, what do you see? Candles, maybe a flow song, somebody saying, "You complete me"? Now, forget all of that, because the real story of love is way weirder, way older, and honestly, a little bit creepy in places. We are talking arrows in spines, voles in laboratories, and the wild idea that romance might have started as a bromance. So grab a tea, get comfy, because today we are digging into one of the biggest questions a person can ask. When did humans first fall in love? Not when did we start having babies, not when did we start mating. When did we start actually loving somebody? Let's get into it. Okay, theory one. And this one is fresh, like 2024 fresh. For decades, the textbook story went like this. Romantic love grew out of the bond between a mother and her baby. Makes sense on paper, right? That bond is old, it is powerful, so maybe romance just borrowed the blueprint. But an anthropologist out of UT Austin named Aaron Sandell said, hold on a second. He studies chimpanzees, and what he noticed is interesting. Male chimps form deep, long-lasting bonds with other male chimps. Not romantic, just close, loyal, I've got your back for years kind of bonds. So Sandell's hypothesis is this. Heterosexual pair bonding in humans, meaning the whole boyfriend-girlfriend, husband-wife thing, may not have come from the mom and baby bond at all. It may have evolved out of same-sex pair bonding that was already happening in a common ancestor we share with chimpanzees. Let that sit for a second. Romantic love possibly descended from bromance. Not the fairy tale version most of us grew up with, but honestly, kind of a fun twist. Evolution did not care about our greeting card industry. All right, theory two. And this is the one that is still leading the pack. This theory says romantic love is not even its own thing in your brain. It is basically hijacked parenting instinct. Here is the idea. Long before humans were writing love songs, mammal brains already had circuitry built for one job. Keep loving and protecting your baby no matter what. That circuitry runs on dopamine, the feel-good chemical, and oxytocin, sometimes nicknamed the bonding hormone. Researchers have found that maternal love and romantic love light up very similar areas of the brain, the same dopamine and oxytocin-rich regions. So when you are falling head over heels for someone, a chunk of what your brain is doing is recycled. It is running old parental software, just pointed at a new target. Kind of romantic and kind of unsettling at the same time, right? You are not just falling in love. Part of your brain thinks it just had a baby. Now here is something almost nobody mentions in these videos. You have probably heard of Helen Fisher. If you have ever watched a documentary about love, dating apps, or the chemistry of attraction, her name has come up. Her theory is called the Independent Emotion Systems model, and it splits love into three separate systems: lust, attraction, and attachment. For almost 25 years, this was basically the gold standard explanation. Every pop science video, every dating app blog post, every The Science of Love article leaned on Fisher's model like it was settled fact. But it is not settled anymore. Newer neurobiological research is starting to push back on it, suggesting love might not be three neat separate boxes after all. So next time someone confidently tells you, well, according to science, there are 3 stages of love, you can gently let them know. Science has actually moved on a bit since then. Here is a fact that might mess with you a little.
Scientists obviously cannot ethically grab random humans, lock them in a lab, and watch them fall in love under a microscope. That is not happening. So where does a huge chunk of our love science actually come from? Prairie voles. Yes, small, fuzzy rodents. Prairie voles are one of the rare mammal species that form monogamous pair bonds, kind of like humans try to. So scientists study these little guys to understand the hormones and brain pathways involved in pair bonding, and then they apply what they learn to try and understand human love. So next time you hear science says love is about oxytocin and dopamine, just remember, a solid portion of that science started with watching rodents cuddle in a lab. Humans, the most complicated species on Earth, partially understand our own hearts by studying voles. Kind of humbling.
Time to go deep into the past, like really deep. We are talking before Homo sapiens even existed. There is evidence that an earlier human species, Homo erectus, may have practiced pair bonding, meaning something close to a monogamous relationship, where one mate stuck around to help raise offspring. Researchers suggest that pair bonding came first, and it actually helped enable fathers to stick around and invest time in their kids. If that is true, it pushes the roots of something like romantic attachment back over 1 million years, not just to the start of our species, but to a totally different branch of the human family tree. Falling in love, or at least the bonding behavior behind it, might be one of the oldest behaviors we have got.
Here is something that sounds almost too sci-fi to be true, but it checks out. Romantic love is not only a warm, fuzzy feeling. It appears to function almost like a switch in the brain, and researchers describe it as universal across human cultures, while suppressing what is called mate search behavior. In plain English, once you fall for someone, part of your brain actively turns down your interest in scanning for other partners. It is not just willpower keeping you loyal. Your own neurochemistry might be doing some of the heavy lifting. And this comes with real benefits, too. The same research links romantic love to specific hormonal and psychological patterns connected to better health and even better chances of survival. So, falling in love is not just a nice feeling. It might be a built-in monogamy enforcer that evolution installed to help relationships actually last. Okay. Time for the part of the video where things get a little eerie. You may have seen this image floating around online. 2 human skeletons from about 6,000 years ago, found near Mantua, Italy, locked face to face in what looks like an eternal hug. They are known as the lovers of Valdaro, and they are usually presented as one of the most romantic archaeological finds in history. Here is the detail almost every other video conveniently skips. When researchers examined the remains more closely, they found that the man had an arrow lodged in his spinal column, and the woman had an arrowhead in her side. So this was not 2 people peacefully passing away in each other's arms after a long, happy life. This looks like it could have been a violent death. The cute ancient soulmates thumbnail image suddenly turns into something a lot more like a true crime mystery. Same skeletons, very different story. Quick context that makes this whole thing even stranger? Out of all the burials found at that site, around 30 graves total, this double burial was the only one of its kind. Just one out of 30. And it was not a one-site fluke either, because double burials like this were extremely rare across the entire Neolithic period in general. So this was not some common cultural practice where couples were regularly buried together. It was a major outlier. So when people slap a heart emoji on this image and call it proof that love has always existed, they are kind of skipping the part where this burial was bizarre, rare, and possibly linked to a violent death. The real story is honestly more interesting than the romantic version, just in a darker way. This next part might be the biggest plot twist of the whole video. You would think the lead archaeologist on this dig would be the one pushing the eternal love narrative the hardest. Nope. Actually, the opposite. The archaeologist who led the excavation, a man named Menotti, suggested an alternative explanation. That the man may have died first, and the woman could have been killed afterward as a sacrifice, meant to accompany him in death. So the original scientific hypothesis was not romance, it was ritual sacrifice. The whole soulmates reunited forever framing came later, mostly from media and online retellings, not from the actual archaeology. It is a good reminder that the most viral version of a story is not always the most accurate one.
All right, last point, and honestly, this one is the mic drop moment. This is the idea that takes the whole video from, neat facts, to, wait, that's actually huge. Researchers suggest that managing long-term pair bonds alongside other family relationships helped drive the evolution of social intelligence and cooperative skills in humans. Think about everything a long-term relationship demands. Remembering details about another person, reading their mood, negotiating, compromising, planning together for the future, raising kids as a team. That is a lot of complicated mental work, repeated constantly, generation after generation. So the theory goes, dealing with the complexity of love and long-term bonding may have actually pushed the human brain to get smarter. Not just smarter at hunting or building tools, smarter socially. In other words, love might not just be something smart humans do for fun. Love might be part of the reason we became smart in the first place.
So, when did humans first fall in love? Turns out, there is no single neat answer. It might trace back to ancient bromances between male primates. It might be repurposed parenting instincts running in your brain right now. It might go back over 1 million years to a totally different human species. And it might have shaped the very intelligence that lets you sit here and think about all of this in the first place. What we do know is love is older, stranger, and a lot more complicated than the candles and roses version we grew up with. If this blew your mind even a little bit, let me know in the comments which point surprised you the most. Was it the bromance theory, the Vole labs, or the dark twist behind the lovers of Valdaro? Drop it below. And if you want more deep dives like this into the strange, hidden history of human behavior, hit subscribe because we are just getting started. See you in the next one.